how do we also, cultivate that idea of, hey, maybe that there's usefulness to it, but also not the crippling type that is chronic?
I think, as anything, awareness, having more people give an explanation of how it might be different than what you've interpreted originally, or what you've been told, or what you've read. One thing that I want to address when you're talking about children and anxiety, I've worked with many families with children with anxiety. Now, when I say this, I want to make it very clear that I'm just talking about some families, okay? There are children that are so sensitive and so sensory driven that, let's say they're in a house with two parents that scream all the time. The parents aren't screaming at them. The parents aren't screaming because they're fighting. It's just a way that they operate. My ex-husband's Italian, and I can tell you, oh my gosh. So it's not good, it's not bad, but there are children that can pick up that level of strength through those conversations that then are going to start to ignite their vagus nerve. That vagus nerve is going to go haywire. Their stomach's going to hurt, their heart's going to palpitate, their brain's going to think something's wrong, and they could go right down that path if they weren't understood in the sensitivity of their body relating to the environment they live. Or, for instance, kids in school. I work with so many kids in school. They get anxious because their brain is so overworked with testing, especially in the high-end areas where they depend on that money from the testing scores. They go into the classroom and they can hardly operate. They can hardly move. They can hardly think because they're so scared. That can be looked at as you have ADD, you have ADHD. I'm not saying that they don't. And sometimes people get a little frustrated with me. But the truth is, in my opinion, based on my work, there are so many different types of individuals, especially children, that are sensory operational, that it's a different idea of how they're feeling inside, that their sensory system, the invisible anatomy, is somewhat overstimulated. And so each person in their development, their study of moving forward with how they want to imprint with their family or their friends, their colleagues, is that we identify with each person as a whole. And we identify with what their sensitivities are, because you could line up 20 kids, which I have, and you can give them a volume test, really loud music, and there's some of them that just want to jam, and some of them that just, they cringe and want to run in the corner, right? So it's the same thing in their environment. So as we grow up as adults, we can look back and see where some of the anxiety came that may not be really directed towards what we thought all along. It could be something very different, because our sensory system is always on. But not everyone has a conversation or a challenge with their self-esteem, self-assurance. Not everyone is so emotionally driven that their heart is always sad, right? So it's very individual. And as you know, with your clinic, it's very individual how people move forward with whatever it is that they're feeling with their anxiety or their illness or their imbalance.